That must have been the fastest takedown I've ever seen before. Khamzat Chimaev made quick work of Kevin Holland, and we gotta give credit to both guys for different reasons. Give credit to Khamzat Chimaev for sure for making such an easy fight out of Kevin Holland. A lot of people probably thought that Kevin would be tough enough. He is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so he can make his way out of the first round, but Khamzat is just one of the best grapplers in the sport at such a young age too. The further he goes, he's only gonna get better in that area. So all credit to Khamzat Chimaev for putting on a performance like that and actually fighting intelligent, not getting to a slugfest with Kevin Holland. And then credit to Holland for taking this fight on short notice, going from fighting a striker to fighting a world-class grappler. But one thing about Kevin Holland was he should not have tried to touch gloves with Khamzat at the beginning of the fight. He was walking complacently, picking his hand up, and Khamzat tricked him. Khamzat picked up his hand like he was going to touch his glove, but it was only a feint. He shot one of the fastest takedowns I've ever seen right after that. Completely caught Kevin Holland off guard. If you touch gloves before the fight, there's no reason to touch gloves during the fight. I don't know if Holland would have reacted to that shot better even if he wasn't trying to touch gloves, because the speed of that takedown was insane. I mean, that kind of takedown is fast at any weight class. Bantamweights, featherweights, whatever. And Khamzat's a big guy, man. He's like walking around at 200 pounds. He's 6'2", and he's shooting takedowns that fast. It's scary, man. If he fights intelligent like that, if he sticks by the game plan and uses the tools that he's best with, there's not a lot of guys that are going to be able to beat him. Even the top fighters in the world in 185 and 170. And we have to give credit to Holland as well for some of the scrambles. I mean, he was trying to roll out of a lot of things. He got up from the initial takedown until Khamzat chain wrestled and started to trip him out all over the place. Holland is known to have very weak wrestling skills. But ironically, he showed better wrestling in that fight, just looking at his technique alone, better than any other fight he's ever had before. So it shows that Kevin Holland is progressively getting better at his wrestling, but the gap in skill from Khamzat is way too large. I don't think he'll ever be able to cover it. And when Kevin Holland's rolling out of everything, against most other fighters, he would have broken the grip. A guy as large as Kevin Holland, Granby rolling like that when you're trying to take him to the ground is going to cause a lot of issues for most fighters. But Khamzat has unreal grip strength. Not only was he able to hold on to Kevin Holland, he was able to even pull him and pin him to the ground while Holland is trying to roll. There was even one moment where Holland broke away from one of the arms, but Chimaev kept the other one locked in there and held Holland to the ground with it. That is otherworldly strength. Khamzat Chimaev may be the strongest fighter in that welterweight division, but this is where Kevin Holland really showed his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skill. So Khamzat was on top of him in side control, and Kevin Holland transitioned from side control all the way into full guard with one move. That is actually very hard to do, but Khamzat in return does exactly what Khabib used to do to all of his opponents: stack on top, put weight on their legs. This is an excellent thing to do against someone who's constantly looking to transition, because the only place you're moving is forward on top of him, which is going to force him to unhook the guard or even transition out of the full guard. And this is oftentimes why you see even guys like Khabib and Khamzat get the opponent's back, because they're trying to scramble back up to their feet, overload their hips, and land ground and pound shots and swing over the legs once they unhook their guard. In the middle of this though, Kevin Holland was able to scramble, give up his back, but stand back up, which shows again he is progressively getting better with his wrestling. But after that is when Chimaev showed how much better he is at wrestling than Kevin Holland. As Khamzat has his back, Holland actually has one whizzer in this time, so he has a bit of control of how this takedown is going to get executed. At the same time, he rolls again, and because he has the whizzer, he's going to be able to break away from both hands, completely break the grip. But Khamzat knew. He adjusted in the fight. He actually let go of it in the middle of the roll, where every time before he held on to Kevin Holland, whether rolling with him or pinning him to the mat. This time, he gave Kevin Holland a little bit more freedom. Okay, I'll let you roll, but I'm going to get in an angle while you're rolling. You can't see where I am. I'm going to rotate on top and get that angle for the choke. Genius work by Khamzat Chimaev. He let go of the grip, posted on the ground, and rotated on top of Holland as he's rolling to get into the angle where he can sneak in the Darce choke. At first it wasn't as tight, but he was able to eventually dig his arm all the way in there and get the full squeeze of the choke. And Kevin Holland tried to fight it off as long as he could, and ultimately ends the fight through that. Kevin Holland was trying to keep the top of his head to the mat, keep his side and back off of the canvas, because that's where really the squeeze from Khamzat is going to take place. So he tried his best to get on top of Khamzat, whether it be in guard, full mount, whatever he can, but ultimately Khamzat's grip strength was just way too strong. He held onto that Darce choke for such a long time, it must have burnt his arms, man. A lot of guys' strength would have started to alleviate at some point. Khamzat's did not. And he goes on to submit Kevin Holland. And that's another fight where Khamzat Chimaev was never hit. 2 fights in Khamzat's UFC career, he has actually been hit at least once. 4 fights, he has not gotten hit. This record he holds is absurd. And I don't even know if any fighter in history will ever break that. 4 fights in the UFC where you did not even get hit once? And among those names are Kevin Holland, Li Jingliang, and Gerald Mearshart. These are really good fighters, man. And I'm pretty sure if Khamzat fought Nate, he would have done the same exact thing. It would have been more danger because of Nate's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I mean, Nate just submitted Tony Ferguson. Tony's a legit grappler, and Nate Diaz choked him out within seconds of getting taken to the ground. There is a bit of danger with Nate Diaz versus Khamzat, but at the end of the day, I think Khamzat would have done him almost the exact same way he did Kevin Holland. Maybe not with submitting Nate Diaz, but there would have been a lot of wrestling and ground and pound involved. There is something interesting about what Nate said though. Nate said his whole training camp was about wrestling. All of it. It was a heavy wrestling game plan. And you saw how fast he went for that guillotine when Tony went for a takedown. And Tony never shoots takedowns. So Nate's defense against Khamzat's wrestling was to go for instant submissions. And who knows if that would have worked. I mean, that would have been insane. What if he were to have submitted Khamzat Chimaev once Khamzat takes him to the ground? That would have been wild, man. And now what's next for them? Khamzat's in a position probably where he needs one more win to get a title shot. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they give it to him, but him missing weight for the fight and all the antics that he was a part of, I don't know if the UFC wants to throw him into a title shot right away, because if he does the same thing again, it'd probably be just too much to handle. So in my opinion, I would love to see him fight Colby Covington. Colby versus Khamzat is the fight that needs to happen. It would establish a #1 contender. And if Khamzat could beat Colby, there is no denying this guy. For my early prediction of that fight, I would slightly side with Colby Covington. If Khamzat starts to wrestle with Colby this way, let's say he shoots takedowns on Colby and just tries to bulldoze right through him like he did Kevin Holland, he will eventually gas out in the fight. There's no way he would be able to keep that up for 5 rounds. And we know Colby is not gassing out, no matter how fast the fight is going. Trying to knock Colby out, yeah, he has a power advantage, but Colby can be sometimes very difficult to hit due to his awkward head movement. And given the fact that Khamzat doesn't really move his head, there are opportunities for Colby Covington to land some shots. The early rounds would be pretty much Colby trying to survive, not get put in bad positions, but at the same time putting a lot of resistance against Khamzat and constantly make him work, dragging him into the later rounds. It is a close fight though. I could definitely see where Khamzat knocks him out. I could even see Khamzat choking him out if Colby gives up his neck, his back, or something, taps into that wrestler's instinct. But at the end of the day, I would slightly lean to Colby. As for Kevin Holland, they could probably put back the Daniel Rodriguez fight. That was going to be a fun one regardless. Or they could do him versus Li Jingliang. It seems like he may have gotten injured in the fight a bit. It seemed like something was wrong with his arm. He was fighting off that dark stroke for a long time. He was rolling all over the place, so something must have snapped there or tweaked a bit. But I would love to see Kevin Holland fight one of those 2 guys. And leave in the comments below, who do you guys want to see these 2 fight next? I'm very curious to see what you guys think as well. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.